"There was a voice behind that door," he says, staring past the camera. "And it wasn't his. I have spent 49 years telling myself I imagined it. I did not imagine it." What if the last morning of Elvis Presley's life held a sound no one has ever been able to explain? Join us today as we examine the claims of the man who says he was standing guard outside that door, and who has finally decided, at 84, to describe exactly what he heard. The last man. Standing outside that door. His name, according to security payroll records from the era, was Walter Briggs. He reportedly joined Elvis's personal security detail in the early 1970s after working briefly as a Memphis police officer. According to his own recent statements, he was handpicked for his size, his silence, and his willingness to follow orders without ever asking why. Briggs claims that over the years he became one of the few men trusted to stand directly outside Elvis's bedroom door during the night, close enough to hear him pacing. Close enough, he says, to hear him talk to himself when he thought no one else was listening. He recalls one tour night in a hotel hallway in 1974, when Elvis, exhausted after a show, sat down beside him on the floor outside his own suite and talked for nearly an hour about growing up poor in Tupelo, as if the biggest star in the world simply needed someone ordinary to talk to. He claims Elvis handed him a gold watch that same night and told him, according to his account, that loyalty was worth more to him than any amount of money. He remembers another quiet moment from that same era, watching Elvis stand alone in an empty dining hall long after a show, still in his white jumpsuit, running through a gospel verse under his breath, as if rehearsing for no one but himself. According to Briggs, on the morning of August 16, 1977, he was posted outside the upstairs bedroom door as usual, expecting nothing different from any other morning. But he claims that sometime before dawn, he heard two voices through that door. Elvis's voice, low and calm, answering someone. Official history says Elvis was alone in that room. Briggs insists that is not what he heard. So who or what does Briggs believe was in that room with Elvis in his final hours, and why has he waited 49 years to say so? Let's delve deeper. The order. Nobody questioned. Briggs claims that within hours of Elvis being found, a senior member of the household staff pulled him aside and told him, in his words, that whatever he thought he heard that morning had never happened. He says he was handed an envelope of cash before the day was even over and told it was a bonus for his years of service. According to Briggs, the tension inside the security team had already been building for weeks before that August. He claims that he once watched Elvis snap at a longtime aide during a late-night card game, only to apologize minutes later with tears in his eyes, telling the room he didn't know what was wrong with him anymore. Briggs says he stayed close that night, standing quietly by the door as Elvis eventually fell asleep in his chair. He also remembers a lighter afternoon that same summer when Elvis pulled him into the backyard to practice karate moves together, laughing every time Briggs lost his balance on the grass, seemingly, for those few minutes, without a single worry in the world. Briggs alleges that certain members of the inner circle viewed him as a liability after that August morning, someone who had heard something he was never supposed to hear. He claims he was quietly reassigned out of Memphis within a month, and told his new post came with the understanding that his old stories stayed in the past. Briggs claims he kept a small pocket notebook from those years, with times, dates, and brief notes on nights he considered unusual, including that final morning. He says that notebook has sat in a shoebox in his closet for over 4 decades. If his notebook is real, what could it actually prove? Keep watching for more. The evidence under the microscope researchers who have reviewed portions of Briggs's account point to several details worth examining. His employment dates, cross-referenced against known security staffing from the period, reportedly place a man with his name on the detail during the correct years. Audio engineers who listened to Briggs's recent recorded statement note that his description of the bedroom's layout, the position of the door, the intercom line to the guard post, and the distance sound could travel down that particular hallway allegedly matches details rarely discussed outside a handful of unpublished household interviews. A separate cache of behind-the-scenes concert reels, reviewed by a small production archive, reportedly shows a security guard matching Briggs's build standing at the edge of the stage during a 1975 performance, close enough to Elvis to react instantly had anything gone wrong. A handwriting sample said to be from his 1977 pocket notebook was reportedly compared against his verified handwriting from later years, and according to those who examined it, the entries are said to be consistent in style, though no independent forensic lab has confirmed this publicly. Briggs's supporters also point to an old photograph showing a young security guard standing near a car outside the Graceland gates in the mid-1970s, reportedly identified by former colleagues as Briggs himself, though the image has never been independently authenticated. None of this proves his account is true, but it does suggest Walter Briggs may not be a man inventing a story about a job that ended in silence. Believer or bystander? Supporters of Briggs's account say his willingness to come forward at 84, decades after any financial motive could reasonably apply, lends his claims real weight. Why risk his reputation now, one supporter reportedly asked. What does he possibly gain? Critics, however, urge caution. They point out that sound behaves strangely in old houses at night, that grief and decades of retelling can reshape memory, and that the Presley mythology has drawn countless uncorroborated claims long before Briggs ever spoke. For his part, Briggs has said in his recent statement that he isn't asking anyone to believe him. "I just didn't want to carry it into the ground with me," he reportedly told the interviewer. What people do with that is up to them. What is certain is that Walter Briggs says he stood outside that door, closer to Elvis Presley's final hours than almost anyone alive. What he says he heard has never been part of the official record until now. Do you believe him? Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if this investigation kept you hooked, make sure to like and subscribe for the next chapter in this story.